kind of challenge is it for you guys up front this week against a back like McCaffrey compared to last week with Derrick Henry?
Well, they're both big challenges, but in a different way. Last week, big, powerful back that that it was going to take more than one guy to bring him down on the ground. This week, a quick, explosive back that has great vision and can start a run one way and end up back another way. So, the whole defense is involved in, trying to make sure we keep him under control.
Is it more so with a guy like that, the gap discipline, the idea that, he can take one cut if you're out of position and you're not relying on the guy next to you, that's when he really makes you pay?
I don't think it's changed what we've harped on from day one. I mean, we know from the beginning we've preached here that we need to be gap sound. And if you're responsible for a gap, you got to be in that gap. I just think it's more important that I control my gap and that I get off the block, and end up over at the ball. I think it's more important, this week because of who he is as a running back.
Panthers ran so much quick game last week, RPOs and stuff like that, especially early. It's hard to impact the quarterback when they're going that fast, right? So how do you coach the guys up to still impact the passing game even though the quarterback's not holding the ball long enough for you to get home?
Well, I think the number one thing is not to get frustrated. And I learned that the hard way, in my coaching career, that you can't get frustrated and you still have to continue to rush like he's going to hold the ball because at some point he will. And so what happens is guys get frustrated and they get a timer in their head. Okay, well, it's been out in 2 seconds. So they can't do that. So we just got to keep rushing. We got to get our hands up and see if we can bat some balls down. But the number one thing is to keep fighting and keep rushing.
Leonard played like Ryan from the New York Post.
Hello, Ryan.
Nice to finally meet
Right,
you.
nice to meet you.
Leonard played like 85% of the snaps the other day. And last year, I know you guys weren't here, but he played 80-something% of the snaps last year. That's a lot for a defensive lineman. What is it about him that he's able to carry that kind of workload?
I think the first thing I can say is not a lot for a lot of guys that I've coached in my career. When you're good and you're one of the best players, that's where you're going to end up. He's getting paid a lot of money for a reason, right? So when the game's on the line, you want your best guys out there.
I'm just saying it's about top 5. Last year at least, he was about top 5 defensive lineman in snaps.
And then, so I think the biggest thing is, that's why we've harped on him to be in great shape. It doesn't say anything bad about the people that we have behind him. It's just a matter of, he's an elite football player, and you want to keep the guys on the field that have a chance to make plays to change the game around. And he did a great job in the game. He feels good, and so we're just gonna keep him out there.
Him and Dex were dominant against the run. And obviously that was a run-heavy team, but going forward, can you get more pass rush out of those guys? Was that game plan specific? Was that something they need to do differently to get more penetration?
To me, it's like I always say. I always, when I talk to the media guys to get them to kind of understand things a little bit better, it's easy for you to open up the stat sheet at the end of the game and see that such and such didn't have any sacks. You say, oh, he didn't have a good day, okay? Really what it comes down to is, did you affect the quarterback, okay? Did you make him get the ball out before he wanted to? Did you make him throw balls too high, too low? Did you get him off the spot, right? So I have to give my guys that education too, okay? You're being judged on the quality of your rush. Are we affecting the quarterback? And so both Dex and Leo had a really good day affecting the quarterback in the game, okay? And I always use this analogy, okay? If you pay me $12 million and I give you 12 sacks, is that worth $12 million? I had 650 rushing attempts through the course of 17 games. I had 12 sacks. Is that my value? I hope that you don't see yourself in that light. That I'm only worthy of 12 of 650 rushing attempts. There's nothing in professional sports that you could be 12 of 650 and they would pay you a nickel for. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Right? So you have to understand what you're trying to do to help the team win. So
the other 630.
There it is. So what you're trying to do is affect the quarterback. I've had games in this league coaching where we've had 6-sack day and the quarterback threw for 500 yards. Okay? I've had games where we've had 1 sack and he threw for 170. right? Because we affected him so much, okay? So affecting the quarterback computes to winning way more than sacks.
Do you keep a stat in your room? Like, I'm going to make it up, like affected rushes? Like, do you have a stat that...
Yes, I do.
What's it called?
Quarterback pressures.
Okay, so that you chart for
So when they get their total grade, they see, hey, okay, I had 35 rushing attempts. Okay, I affected the quarterback 25 of those 35 plays. That is a great productive day.
So a pressure is just affecting the quarterback.
Yeah, I got him off the spot.
Gotcha.
Now I know pressures that the league does is that, you know what I mean?
It's not the same.
Not the same.
Your definition's different.
Exactly
That's what
right.
I was asking.
My deal is did he plant his back foot and could sit there and throw the ball where he wants? Okay, or did we get him off the spot? Okay, did we make him have to throw it off his back leg too high, which Dex had a bunch of those right in the quarterback's face on Sunday. And so that's what computes to winning. Now you understand, as a coach, I got to get them to understand that, because they buy into what they've been told their whole life, that their value is getting the guy on the ground. Don't get me wrong, I want them to get him on the ground too, but their value is more than that. And they have to understand that if your defense is going to be successful.
And for Fabian, like, how much does his experience factor into the equation for you here? Like, he's probably, your most experienced cornerback aside from Adoree at this point. Yeah.
And you love that about him. I know when we were having discussions about him, I know that's one of the things I liked a lot is, he's played in NFL games and started in NFL games and played in multiple systems, so he comes in and should be able to learn and pick up, and you can relate things to things he's done. He knows this league. He knows the receivers in this league, knows how to play. So he's a good add for us. And again, he's been in the mix this week along with Lane and along with Flott.
Do you plan on just landing on one guy, or do you are you open? How open are you to the idea of, okay, we could use multiple guys in that?
Like this league is such that, if something may happen, it's about to happen.
Right.
That's why you're asking me this question now, because something happened, and I'm down to the next guy. And whoever we start, everybody's got to be ready to go, because we're one play to moving chess pieces again.
But it sounds like the plan will be, we're going to select one guy, and if everything goes well, that'll kind of be the guy.
We'll see.
Is it
In an ideal world, I'm saying.
Is it matchup based with how Carolina plays their receivers?
Again, it'll be interesting. We'll have that conversation next week. Not to divulge too much of our game plan. We've got 3 guys who are ready to go, who are ready to play, and we'll see how the game plays out and how much they play.
What do you think of the job Adoree did traveling? Because that's not usually something Wink's defenses do, and he traveled.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. The thing I appreciate about Adoree in that game is probably one of the most physical games I've seen Adoree play. Like, he was going looking for contact. He was going in for plays that, like, you had to give extra effort to get there so that he could hit somebody. And that is huge for us, and I think it's, the demeanor that Wink wants us to play with. And Adoree has accepted that challenge and has taken it, personal, that he wants to go play that way. He's asking for those matchups each week. We'll see how that goes game to game, whether we match, whether we don't. But he's a guy that has been reliable. He had a great camp and is off to a good start so far. So we'll keep depending on him to be reliable, be physical, be tough, and just continue to be what he's been.
Early in camp, if I'm not mistaken, Dane Belton was actually even getting first-team reps as like a sub-package DB. So I'm assuming he impressed you pretty quickly. What's fair to expect out of a guy who's a rookie who missed 95% of training camp?
Yeah, I know his eyes will be big early in the game, whatever, special teams, defense, whatever role he has. And the thing about him, he's a naturally tough kid who competes hard, who's physical, who has really good instincts, really disciplined. He did a great job of when he was not able to practice. He was right behind the starting safety every time, like a shadow, making the calls and adjustments when we were doing our walkthrough, so that he stayed in it mentally. So he kept himself sharp, so that when he comes back, that he gives himself the best chance to go out and play fast. Again, I expect first couple plays, eyes are going to be big, but then he's going to settle down and be the player we drafted him to be.
Obviously, when you're putting a guy out there who hasn't played, sometimes like conditioning can be an issue. But because, I mean, just from a human, he could run, he could ride a bike because he didn't have a leg injury. You're not as worried about conditioning with him as you would be with a guy who had a high ankle sprain or something?
Well, anytime you've been out of practice, when you come back, there's going to be a little bit, because no matter how you train, when you go play live football against people who are moving, it's going to tax you differently. It's hard to train for games, other than practicing. So I expect him to maybe have a little bit of that, as he plays and as he, depending on the reps and how it works out. But again, he'll fight through it and he'll play his butt off.
It's only been one game, only one game. What do you like so far about the way Wink calls defense and the way he's built this scheme for this team?
Again, I think Wink has, he always said from day one, he's building a bully here. And I think our guys went out and tried to play that way. You weren't over here when I talked about it, but Adoree Jackson was the most physical game I've seen him play. He was going and making extra effort to go hit people. And so when you're, supposedly cover corner is trying to go hit people, that's a good thing for your defense. And I think it's a credit to the way Wink has built our system and the confidence he puts in our players and what he demands from us. It is, I think it's showing up on tape.
And that's what defensive players love, right? They want a coach who comes in and says, "You're taking it to them. Forget everything else. We're gonna hit them hard."
And we're going to be aggressive. We're not going to be afraid to go and challenge people. I like it.
Do you think the quality of hits that you put on Derrick Henry speaks to that Wink approach having an effect?
Absolutely, it does. I think coming out of that game, we may have had, I think, the second least missed tackles in the league on defense against a back like that. That speaks volumes, I think.
How far is Cordell Flott away from earning consistent reps on defense? And what does he have to do in his development?
Well, sometimes it doesn't matter if he's ready or not. It happens. So, like this week, somebody's got to go in and play between him, Moreau, and Lane. And, all those guys have gotten reps. All of them got to be prepared because, again, no matter who plays, they're one play away from the next guy being in the game even then. So all those guys have done a great job this week preparing. We're going to continue to take them as far as we can to get them even more prepared and ready for the looks and ready for what they're going to see. And again, I expect all of them to be ready to play the full way.
Daniel, for a second. What did you make of that performance from him? And obviously the interception is something that people harp on. What do you make of that play?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. He was efficient, moved the ball, made good decisions. Obviously, the one that we want back is the interception down there. And he said it right when he came off. He knew what he did, and otherwise he played a really clean game. Made good decisions, was efficient, got the ball out.
What are you looking for him to do on that play? Obviously, he looked like he thought he saw a matchup that he liked. Yeah. He looked at it first. Do you want him to sort of
just make
a
better decision than the one he did, obviously. Everybody focuses on the result of it, But if Saquon goes up and potentially makes a catch, then it's a great throw. If it's an interception, it's a bad
throw. That's what I'm saying. Do you want him to go high? Do you want him to go high and outside there? Would you rather him go
you'd like
look
to see
off,
like
go somewhere else?
No, you don't want to do too much down there. Just make a better decision. Yeah.
And then Brian obviously went up to him afterwards as well.
Mm-hmm.
How rare or how common is that for a head coach to do during a game from what you've seen?
Well, I think, it's very common when something like that happens in the game. Holding people accountable, holding each other accountable. Went up there, told them hey, this time, make this decision. See this, do that. I think that's very common, especially when, you have something like that down in the red zone.
So he shouldn't have locked in as one receiver, obviously, right?
No, I mean, you follow the read and trust what you see,
He forced it with
I wouldn't say you forced it. Just, make a better decision in terms of you got your legs down there, you got other guys and all that. Saquon's a great matchup to throw to. He's having a hell of a game. So, always want to get that guy the ball.
What have you thought of Daniel's decision making just
overall?
I thought it was great. Obviously everybody's going to harp on the one, but you look at all the other decisions he made, 17 to 21, getting the ball out, being efficient, moving the offense down the field, especially in the second half. That's the thing we talk about. Make good decisions, move the offense down the field, and he did that.
With the strip sack, anything he could have done there to hold it?
Yeah, maybe you get the ball out early, but that guy 98 over there is a good player too. So give them credit; they made a good play on it, and we'll learn from it and go ahead and make a better play on it next time.
What is it about this offense, now that you've seen Daniel in it for a little while, that you think works for him, that can help take his game to that next level?
I just think it's creating matchups for guys. Knowing, hey, in this look, we have Shep. He's going to win on that for us. In this look, you have Saquon. We got guys that we can move around all over and create good matchups for. It makes it easy to get the ball out and be efficient like he was.
How different is that for a quarterback, though, than other systems?
I can't speak to other ones. I've coached in this one for a while, so it's kind of where, I kind of can gauge that off of. But as far as other systems,
it's more player-based, you think, than maybe other schemes?
I think it's always player-based, no matter what scheme you're in, though. You're always trying to get your best players the ball.
Are you a believer that pocket presence can be learned or honed, or are you more a believer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, we sit here and we work on it every day, Part of the drills we do in individual or him stepping up, moving up, which he did a good job of that all game, So I think it can be. You work on it every day, trust your fundamentals, and for sure.
What have you seen from Daniel from the beginning of camp to now that you feel that he's improved on?
Just his overall understanding of the full picture of what we're trying to get done. And that comes with time and reps in the system. He studies hard, watches a lot of film, tries to understand everything we're doing, and that's the biggest thing for a quarterback is having time in a system to, know where guys are going to be, know who's where, know what my read is. It takes reps, and from the spring to now, he's gotten a ton of those, and that's where it shows up in some of those quick decisions where you get the ball out. Like, he knows where his answers are, and that's the biggest thing that's come from April, whatever we started till now.
He also discussed his leadership in the locker room, how he's taking control.
Yeah, we've talked about that, and Daniel's great with that. He's got a great relationship with those guys, all of them. The guys in the huddle, you see him out there in the huddle in practice. He's before every period, he kind of gets them going, goes around, gives everybody a dap, and he did that going out before each series too on the sideline. So that type of stuff is really good to see. He's comfortable with these guys.
How has Tyrod been able to help Daniel to sort of fill in some of the blanks as far as Tyrod's experience helping Daniel out?
Yeah, I think all those guys in the room do that with each other. Daniel's experiences are different than Tyrod's. Tyrod's are different than Davis's and vice versa. So all three of those guys do a great job of talking about, what did you see here? Hey, on this play, think about this too. They help me. We put up a play there and we talk about through the read, and then Ty will say, hey, we ran this play at this spot I was at, and I saw this. That's a great tidbit for Daniel. Now that's a little bit of a mental rep for him, Davis has been in this offense for 4 years, so for both of them, good reference point. Like, hey, when we ran this play a couple of years ago, think about this. So great rapport in that room, which is awesome to see.
How did you see Daniel, you mentioned comfort level just throughout the course of the season. I guess in the game on Sunday, how that developed, he looked kind of out of place, understandably so, that first half, and then developed aside from the interception.
Yeah, I didn't think he was out of place necessarily in the first half. I thought we talked about it since we got here in April. Like, one of the things we're going to do is be poised. And he was very poised throughout the whole thing. Even, rough start. We'd like to start off faster than that, obviously, but it wasn't coming over and, being disappointed in it. We talked about, all right, hey, what can we get to next to get it going? And that's exactly what we need when, things are kind of off to a slow start. All right, what's the next thing we're going to get to? And he was great with that.
Is that something you see from him in practice and that poise?
Yes, yeah, for sure. I think every time you have some sort of slow start, you want those guys to reset themselves and everything like that. And I knew he was gonna in the game because I've seen him do it out here. He's done it where, all right, hey, maybe the first pass is an incomplete pass in practice. Comes back, hits the next one. All right, we're reset. We're ready to go.
You take all the credit then for Saquon's revival?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Not kind of how it works?
No, I definitely won't do that. No, it was just good to see the work he's put in, really since the day I've gotten here, getting to know him and buying into what we're trying to do as an organization. And anytime you kind of say, hey, let's think about this, let's work on that, and then you actually see it work on the football field, that gives you an opportunity to keep building on that throughout the whole year.
How much of an emphasis has been just getting north and south, putting your shoulder? Because he did that more on Sunday than I've seen in a while.
Well, my whole philosophy, coaching running backs, is always we're trying to get to the end zone, right? We want to get vertical. So I just always coach that philosophy, and really with his ability, if his shoulders are going square and he's running and his pads are low, it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop someone coming right at you as opposed to going sideways. So I just try to explain to him like that, why it's just important to get vertical and go score.
You haven't been around him in a real game. You saw some of those clips on the sideline. He's pretty fired up. Were you taken aback by just how?
Well, he can get fired up in practice, okay. No question about it. And but it was great to see. I've always known he was a competitor. You can see that in the practice as well. But yeah, it was the first game action preseason. I know it was totally different, but it was cool to see, and really we're gonna need that throughout the whole year.
When you took this job, when you came here, obviously you looking at your running backs group, Saquon Barkley's here. How intriguing was that to come and coach a guy of that talent, and did you look at it as a challenge of sorts to be able to coach a guy of that level?
Oh, absolutely. When you're talking about one of the best to play in the NFL, and you get a chance with my first opportunity to coach in the NFL, I get to work with that. It's you got to be excited about it, which I really was, and knowing that he's coming off injuries and things like that, I thought it was a perfect opportunity for both of us to do something special together, and it's been fun. Like I said, the thing I didn't know about him, just his football knowledge. I mean, obviously he's gifted physically, but he is a smart football player, and he wants to be really, really good. And then you combine all that, and you got a chance to do something special.
What is the value for a running back when the quarterback is under center on a running play versus in shotgun? Because you guys definitely had more success in the second half once Daniel went under center running the ball.
Well, again, just the different play calls that we have. So, you obviously, if you're under center, you're limited to some of the things you can do in the passing game, and vice versa. In the gun, you can do more things when you're in the gun passing game. So he can run out of both sets. So I think what we try to do as an offense, you find plays that work, you try to stick with those, and until they stop them, you want to keep running them.
For all the praise and accolades you got, how much you on him for the fumble and what's we need to do in that situation?
It's like anything, right? You can. He did some great things, but yeah, that'll get us beat. And that's what you always try to emphasize. It worked out for us. It's a fundamental thing, and of course he's the first one. I sit next to him in team meetings. First thing he has is ball security right on top of his sheet, and he understands. Like this week was a good week of him working on it. So I'm glad it didn't. They didn't recover it, and glad it went out of bounds, and we escaped that one. But it's important, and like I said, I let him know about it.
Are you pleased with how he did in pass protection as well, along with the other backs? Obviously, going against the blitz, and the Titans have a good defensive line. How was he just protecting the quarterback?
Yeah, that's another thing that we emphasize, throughout our time here, is being valuable in the protection game. And it's still some things that he can work on, but he is so much better at it, and he's going to get better the more live reps he has. He works on it really, really hard in practice. So I was pleased it could be better, and I know he will get it better.
How many times do you, particularly with some of these other guys, third down backs with Breida and some of these other guys, how often do you work with them in pass protection as well, where if Saquon needs his breath, maybe it's third and long and you've got a blitz coming in, how often do you work with those guys?
Well, we do that every week. That's kind of part of our deal, from pass protection one-on-one with the linebackers to ball security. We'll always do that every single week. So they all get the same amount. Mm-hmm. And really those guys, they take pride in it. They all gifted runners, but in order for you to play, you got to protect the quarterback, and they all do a great job with it. But we work on it every single week.
What do you think of the job Evan Neal did for his first game?
Evan Neal did a good job. I mean, everybody wants him to be perfect. No lineman will ever play a perfect game, especially a rookie. but I think he did a good job. I was really impressed with how he kept his composure and how he just stayed in the moment. And that goes for the whole group. I thought the whole group did a good job staying in the moment. Made it easy for me to coach them, you know. So I was just pleased with their resiliency and their focus.
I'm sorry. Thank you, John.
No, you're good.
I think over the summer you said you weren't in favor of rotations. Obviously, you know, situations changed. I guess. What would you think about that? You plan to continue it?
I mean, there's a lot of things you maybe you would favor to do one thing or another, but circumstances sometimes dictate that. And this is a good circumstance. I mean, both Bob Bredesen, I would call him Bob, Ben and Joshua have earned that right. And I have a hard time looking a grown man in the face who's done everything you ask of him and tell him he's not playing. You know, in a perfect world, would we like it to be one way or another? Sure, but right now, it's a good circumstance. I think they both handled the competition the right way, like pros. I think they handled the rotation like pros, and that goes for the whole group because there's two other guys that are involved in that rotation, the left tackle and the center, and they handled like pros as well. So we'll continue, going forward until something changes, until the circumstances change.
Do you predetermine it? Like,
Yeah, we did. Like I said, it was a case of both guys had done what we asked them to do, and when they do that, especially in the situation we're in, when you have guys that do exactly what you ask them to do, you can't arbitrarily penalize one over the other. So that's what we did, and that's how we'll go forward.
What did you think of their pass protection, Bredesen and Ezeudu? It looks like Simmons was kind of giving you guys fits at times in the interior.
He's a really good football player. He's going to give a lot of people fits. At times, we did not handle the matchup the way you would like, but I like their resiliency, and we bounced back when it mattered. You'd love to stop a guy like that every single play. I've gone against him a couple times. Not me personally. I haven't blocked anybody since '94. But the guys have handled it. That guy's a really good football player. He's going to make a play. And that'll be a great learning lesson for Joshua. He had a couple of those matchups. And to the kid's credit, I've seen a lot of really good players crumble when they make a bad play like that. That kid sat there, took the coaching, and when he went out, watch the game later on, he made some very key blocks. That's huge for a young kid. That is huge. So hopefully we can turn that one play into a building block for plays down the road. So, we don't like what happened, but hey, we'll learn from it. We'll move on.
So, like on the sideline there, you kind of alluded to it. You're on the sideline, right?
I am.
And so when he comes off after the strip sack, you're going to sit down with him, and you're almost like looking like, okay, how's this guy going to respond? It's his first game, and you look him in the eye, and what did you? Well,
first thing I said was, hey guys, get some water. That's what I do. I do. And that's not to be glib. That's a case of, hey, guys, come off of a highly charged situation, sit down and compose yourself because you're about to get some information that's going to help you going forward. I want them all to reset and refocus. We sit down, we talk through it, and we address the elephant in the room right now. We always deal with the bad first and work to the good. And I sat down with them and said, hey, listen, that's not anything that guy did. It was what you did. Get off the ball quicker, get your eyes to your aiming point, use the technique you've practiced all training camp. Boom. If you make it into something that the other guy did, then all of a sudden they start doubting themselves. Well, can I match up? Always go back to what we control. Control what you can control. Things like getting off the snap count, using your cadence, or using your technique, all the things that you do. Because if I make it what that guy did, you can't control that guy. And now all of a sudden it becomes an issue that kind of grows out of your hands. You know what I'm saying?
For the last 2 years, when we talked to the offensive line coach, whoever it was, Andrew Thomas would probably be the topic of the entire interview.
Right.
Andrew Thomas, with the way he played in week one, I don't know if we take for granted how good he played, but did you feel as though he played the exact game you anticipated him to play in that position?
Andrew played really well. I don't take Andrew for granted in the simple fact that, one, I'm a line coach, so I see all those little things that maybe people don't see. But when you have a player of his caliber, you can't take it for him, because I see all the stuff he does leading up to the game. I see all the preparation that, all the questions, all the work he puts in. So what I saw on the field didn't surprise me. I didn't take it for granted. And if anything, I reminded him that he's a good player. I reminded him not to take himself for granted, that the things he's doing are really good. And I probably point out the good things that he did more than I did the bad things, just to remind him, because I think sometimes players, coaches, when you get in the season, you get just bogged down with all the negatives. every play is, well, what could you have done better? Sometimes we got to take a step back and go, what do we do good? That way the guys don't lose focus on, hey, the direction we're going, what we're trying to build, how we're trying to do it. So you got to oftentimes give them positive reinforcement too. Like that right there, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Repeat that again. If we repeat that over and over again, we'll stack that and we'll win a lot of games. So that's kind of how I did it there.
Did he need that more than some guys? Because his rookie year, he got a lot of criticism. Then he has to deal with injuries as well. Did he really need a reminder that you're good? You're here for a reason.
I don't know if he needed it. I just wanted to tell him. I mean, I'm a parent of two 20-year-old daughters, and a lot of times I remind them of the things that they do good, because I think sometimes if you're only correcting them when they do things wrong, that they think they're always wrong, or they always think they're bad or something like that. And I've applied that to my coaching. I had a young player way back when that he was a young football player and he was learning the game. And if I always corrected him, the only thing he heard from me was the corrections of what he was doing wrong. That's all he would have heard. So I tried to remind him of what he did right. And I don't know if Andrew needed that, but that's what I gave him. You'd have to ask him whether that was something that helped him or not. But I tend to, in game day, be a little more even-keeled emotionally than I am in practice. And it's because those guys have a lot of external factors weighing on them. They got a lot of things going on. I need to be a consistent for them. So sometimes they need the positive reinforcement and some consistency to help them fight through some of those ebbs and flows in a game.
Given what he had been through in his past when you got here, did he need a lot of work to get him back to where he was?
I don't know if that was the case. I think it was just, Andrew's really professional. I think he knows what he needs to work on, but I remind him what he needs to work on. I remind him what he's doing well, and that way he can kind of check the box. He's a pretty organized kid. I think if you tell him things, he's all right, check the box, move on to the next thing. So that's kind of how I help him through his process.
Bobby, if I take it back to draft night, Joe Shane told us that he had Evan Neal and Ike Ekwonu on the same line on his draft board. And basically, for a flip of a coin, they could be in different spots if Carolina took one. What was your experience with Ike like pre-draft?
I was all positive. I mean, we went and saw a lot of players, and I can't say that of the kids they sent me to see that I had a negative experience with anybody, but my experience with Ike was very positive, as it was with Charles Cross and Evan Neal and all the other guys that I went to see, Joshua Zudu and Marcus McKeithen and Cole Strain. I mean, the list goes on. I saw so many kids, but Ike was very positive. He's a good kid. He's a smart kid. He's a hardworking kid. He's about the right things, which is why he was on our board at the level he was at.
Who's your swing tackle right now?
Right now, it's Deborah Hamilton. But I tell the guys, just like a coach I worked for when I was young told me, every day is an interview. Every day we reevaluate what guys did and didn't do. Just like we got guys rotating. Every day we evaluate it. Right now, Deborah's doing a good job, and he's earned that. Until somebody beats him out, then he'll be that the spot. So we're just constantly trying to upgrade and evaluate, and he's done a really good job.
So you think he had an illness this week, right? He'll be okay for the game.
A tummy ache or something. Yeah.
I have those sometimes.
So do I. I'm an offensive line coach in the NFL. I got a tummy ache a lot. All right? Tummy ache a lot.
Has Joshua developed maybe faster than expected, and that he's playable right there in the first game?
That's kind of tough, because I mean, I don't ever really try to say a guy should develop at a certain. Every guy's different. Every circumstance is different. I think he's handled what we've thrown at him very well, and I think he's handled the circumstances well. So I mean, to me to say he's meeting a certain benchmark that's been placed on him, I can't say that. He's handled what we've thrown at him. He's performed when he's been asked to perform. He's bounced back from negatives quickly. That's all I can really measure him on, and I'm happy with where he's at. He just needs to get better every day. So today is another chance for him to get better.
With a guy like Darius, if a guy is not on the practice field, is it hard to earn game reps?
Well, I'm not going to say that about any guy in particular, but I think that's the case for anybody on the team. I mean, you need to be out there and being able to be able to go full speed and be at practice and be available. So.
Is that especially important in this offense, because you have to get a lot of reps?
No matter where you are in any offense, every place I've been, that's been important. Yeah.
How complex is this offense, though, in general, for receivers, maybe in comparison to some of the other ones you've been in?
Yeah, schematically, a lot of similar schemes to what I've been used to in all the different places that I've been. So our guys, we've got smart guys that did a really good job of investing their time away from the building and learning it. And confident that they know what to do when they go out there.
I'm talking almost like in a way like when they get to the line, that you have to know like the route kind of depends, from what I understand, what they said, on what they see.
You guys asked me that. When we have option routes, just like everybody does,
Right.
yeah, it's not unique to the system. But when you're referring specifically to an option route, you got to get those reps. So both guys are seeing it the same way, the quarterback and the receiver, and then the quarterback can read the receiver's body language.
And the only way really to do that is to do it on the field?
To do it on the field, yeah. I mean, you could talk about it, you could show them tape, but they got to get out there. They got to make that decision on their feet in real time, and the quarterback's got to see it the same way because he's setting the throw, whether, in, out, whatever, and stopping, whatever it is.
How did Richie James earn the kind of trust that you guys put in him right away?
Richie, has been a pro since he's been here. Just goes about his business each and every day. He's always ready when his number's called, and when the ball comes to him, he makes plays.
How compared to what I guess what your expectations from Shep? This was like 8 months from, a torn Achilles. Sure. You got him back. He's playing 40-something snaps. Is that almost more than you expected from him when you came here? Obviously, he's injured at that time.
You speaking from a rep standpoint, or just to be back?
I'm just talking
available?
just to be back and perform the way he did. You're using him as a blocker late in the game. For a guy off 8 months, it seems to me like wow, that you almost don't expect that from a guy.
I don't think I could answer it any better than that. I mean, truly. I mean, he obviously put in all the work to get himself ready. You got to credit Ronnie and Lee and all the guys in the training room of getting him ready physically so he could go out there and do it. But he had to go out there and do it, and he went out there and performed, which is what he's always done since he's been here. Why he's one of the best giant receivers ever, and he just went out there and performed again. He was very dependable. Did some things that maybe were unexpected, like you mentioned about blocking there at the point of attack. And I think it just showed his competitive toughness, and how much he wanted to win that game, that he would lay it on the line like that.
When did you notice that this was a possibility for him physically, I'm talking about, right?
Well, I think that we were gearing towards that, from the very first day of training camp, and just try to build him up so that he would be able to do it. He was, we were monitoring his reps throughout the game, was all over it, how many he played, and, I felt very comfortable with where we were at in the fourth quarter with his snap count. Like you said, a lot of those ended up being runs, so it wasn't, really taxing in terms of high-intensity yardage. And then we got in the red zone, having to throw the ball, stretch the ball down the field either. So felt really good about the group that we had out there at that time.
Mike, Darius Slayton's a guy who's used to contributing here. After kind of a humbling start to the season for him, how do you coach and manage a guy like that?
Well, I think if you're going to have any longevity and have a career in this league, there's going to be ups and downs, and you got to be able to manage that, internally, each player. But just continue to try to encourage him. He's doing a lot of really good things, just to be ready, and you got to be ready when your number's called. I'm confident that he will be.
You've had a lot of success with slot receivers in the past, obviously Aguilar in Philadelphia, but here specifically, is it more of a point of emphasis to get a lot of snaps and a lot of players out in the slot position?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Whether it's Richie James, whether it's Kadarius Toney, are you trying to match up a lot of your players to be more in the slot to get a better matchup?
Well, I mean, we're always looking for a matchup, regardless of whether you're a slot or you're playing outside in a particular play. We're looking for matchups, and a little bit of that is dictated by coverage too. Zone coverage versus man coverage will dictate where we think that we have an advantage in terms of matchup. But we're very comfortable with the group that we have that can go inside and play against our opponent's nickels.
How'd you feel about Kenny's first game?
I thought Kenny did a really good job. Played a lot of snaps for us. Made two good catches for us when the ball came to him. He was ready and had a lot of good energy on the sideline. Was able to communicate what was going on out there in the field. Thought he did a really nice job.
On the play where Saquon broke free, fumbled, Kenny's busting it down the middle of the field to block. Do you show that tape, or is that just what's expected? You don't need to point.
Well, I mean, we highlight it, but it certainly is an expectation that we're going to strain our gut in the run game, and we got to back like that, like Saquon, and we know that we got to get our guys covered up on the second level because those are that's what wins championships.
Did in their first regular season game?
Yeah, no, really proud of them. They all played a role, rotating around. All three of them could have been on the field for Myrick's touchdown. They've been joking about that. It's just one of those plays that isn't really person specific, and they all worked on it. But I think we're seeing improvement, and we're seeing increased confidence, and it's a group that's willing and fun to work with.
What did you see from them in the run game? And obviously, you guys did a great job running the football. How did you think your group helped contribute to that?
Again, an improved group. You look at some of those point of attack runs. We're excited about how we could help the team there. There's more to do, and the exciting part about them, really from preseason game 1 until that game, and even this week. I mean, we're lasering in on what are the real specific details you can improve on. This week it's hands inside. We had the one play going to the right side of the field where they threw a penalty on the Titans. That one easily could have got hairy for us in our room. And so a focus on details, hands inside, approaching that block a little differently, things of that nature.
For a guy like Daniel, who doesn't have a ton of experience in the passing game in college, right? San Diego State, just such a run-heavy type of team, right? Is it a bigger picture thing where you're working on, America, or is it, to your point, even with the passing game, where you pick one thing you want to focus on, kind of each week train that up and kind of take it one step at a time?
Yeah, I mean, I think different plays present different things. You get around a route 12 yards down the field. We want to give a picture to the defense that we can break in, break out, break corner, break post. And so his transitional speed coming out of routes is a real focus for him. Maintaining speed and maintaining velocity at his break points. It's common for young guys at any position to decelerate coming out of breaks. And so just those types of things with him in the passing game. But he's a sponge. It's good to see improvement. And we'll just keep working on it every day.
I mean, that's how you create separation, right? By not having that deceleration at the top
That's
of
right.
the stem, right?
That's right. I mean, you're giving a picture to the defense. They're coming forward. They're looking at all your traits, and we got to make sure we don't give anything away.
What are some of the challenges you see from the Panthers defense this week preparing for them?
Yeah, I mean, Burns, 53. I mean, he's a beast. In terms of our position group and what we're having to deal with. Shaq Thompson, a veteran guy who makes a lot of plays. So those are guys that Burns is kind of a Johnny jump around guy. And so you got to be very disciplined with your feet and your hands and not get overextended. And those are just things that are a point of emphasis, in terms of specific to us in those roles.
Sunday's game and going into this week.
Yeah, it was a great start. The guys that really played hard for 60 minutes. And the thing you love to see in that atmosphere is just there was no quit. Everybody believed, everybody kept grinding, kept getting stops, and really everybody on the whole defense stepped up. But as far as the outside linebackers, thought Jihad right from the jump set the tone for our defense. He was violent and physical on the edge, and you saw he was able to get to the ball and make plays. And O'Shane really played active and was great on the backside of runs and hitting the quarterback. And then Taman, in his first game action, really liked how he stepped up and he executed the defense at a high level. So excited where we were at and excited for this week.
With Jihad being like that from the jump, what does that do for the rest of the guys?
Yeah, he's just got so much energy and passion, and he's so dedicated to playing great run defense. And in a game like that, that was priority number one. We knew, going in, we had to stop Derrick Henry, and that's the perfect guy for it. He's done it before, and he really stepped up and did it again.
Why do you think Wink's approach really connects with players and inspires them to play at a high level?
Yeah, the thing about Wink is just walking in the door the first day, he sees the best in everybody and he's going to bring it out of them. Like he's going to inspire, and he's also going to say, hey, this is what this guy does really well, and we're going to accentuate that. We're going to highlight those things. So he goes in and he just sees the best in every single guy in that room. And he's going to get creative and find a role for those guys. So those guys see that, they believe in that. Obviously, he's got a track record of success and has had success doing it with different types of guys in different roles. So everybody in that room, if they work hard, if they really believe in what we're doing, he's going to find a role for them, and you're seeing that out there on the field.
Have you seen him tweak his approach here as opposed to what he was doing in Baltimore?
Yes, but I've also seen him tweak his approach every year in Baltimore, and honestly, it's every game is its own challenge and it's its own game plan where it's so unique to that opponent. So that changes week to week and obviously year to year based on the personnel. And here we're doing things we may not have done back in Baltimore because of the pieces that we have and the guy's skill sets. And with him, it's always going to be, what does this guy do really well? Let's highlight that and expand on that. And then if there's something that maybe we aren't doing as well, all right, let's shift it to this, let's do this a little differently and do that. But that's the beauty of Wink's system, and that's really the beauty of Wink's creativity, is he's going to find a way to get the best 11 on the field in any situation and highlight what those best 11 can do well and to stop what we're facing. Obviously, what you saw last week was built to stop that offense. This week, you'll see a different plan to stop a different offense.
How does he continually reach players? You know, none of us are getting younger. I know that. But it seems like he evolves and reaches these guys at a different level.
Right. I think with him, he's willing to adapt and he's willing to change, not just how we do meetings, but how he talks to these guys, how he understands these guys. And he uses this quote all the time. All right, he says, if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less, right? And with him, it's every single player, there's a chance to connect, there's a chance to form that bond and understand them. And by doing that, it makes it easier to relate to the next guy. So I think he takes it upon himself that every player, every coach in that room, he's going to have that bond with, have that relationship with. And that's why I think guys are willing to play so hard for him, because he wants to relate. He wants to know what kind of music they listen to. His sneaker game is as good as the players, right? You guys have seen the Jays out here. And he's just, it's a rare guy that just is, no matter how old he is, he's going to be contemporary. He's going to be with the times because he has so much, empathy for where the players are at, how much, how he's got so much love for these guys, and it shows up.
He also seems like a fiery kind of guy, at least from the outside, and this may be a bit of a cliche, but doesn't that usually play better with defensive players who want to be kind of revved up before a game?
Yeah, his personality, whether you're golfing with him, right, whether you're, playing pickup hoops, or whether you're out there on the football field, like, this guy's personality is he wants to win, and he wants to win by attacking you and imposing on you, and that's what you see out there on the field, and that's what, you understand that he's going to go get it, right? He's not going to wait. He's going to go after it, and that's how he calls a game. That's how he coaches our guys, and it's been really fun to watch these guys, who are a great group of guys, really respond to that.
It would seem that every defensive player would love that style. Well, why then doesn't every defensive coordinator blitz like crazy and attack and be aggressive like he does?
Yeah, I don't know about the other ones. I don't want to speak for them, but I know I love this system, and I know that, I love coaching in this system. I think our whole staff loves coaching in this system. The players love playing in it, because it's like you're playing offense on defense, right? We're not going to sit back and say, oh, this guy, made a nice throw. Okay, we're going to get it, right? Like, we're gonna affect the quarterback. Everybody on the field is in an attack mindset, whether they're in coverage, whether they're in run defense, or whether, we call it blitz, and then it's all everybody attacking at once.
Yesterday, when somebody cited the blitz rate that you guys had from one of the analytics sites yesterday to Wink, I think it said something like 30-something%. It was almost 35. He was almost offended the fact that someone said he blitzed that low.
Yeah.
You obviously either heard about it or saw it. Is that just part of it? Is that just part of who Wink is in terms of his mentality, that he has his way, and as much as he'll adapt, he knows what he wants to do?
No, and I think that's different by team, and I think you'd say, based on what Tennessee was presenting, whether it was a protection look or whether it was a lot more play action than drop back, that's just how the game dictated it, right? But, he loves to affect the quarterback, and you can do that in a lot of different ways, whether it's 3-man rush affecting him or whether it's 7 guys going. And I think he always wants to be in the best possible call. That's what he did on Sunday, and if it meant more blitzing, that's what he would do then. But he's very much driven by being in the best possible call for every situation. That's why he works so hard at it. That's why he's had the success that he has.
You've had a connection with Kayvon since you guys drafted him. What have the last couple weeks been like? And talking to him yesterday, he just kept saying that he's optimistic, but I would imagine you've had to play part sports psychologist too with him in terms of making sure he's ready, when he's ready, that kind of thing.
The thing you love about Kayvon and where he's at and getting back from this injury is he just has worked so hard with the rehab part of it. I think from the outside you don't necessarily see that means on days off he's in the building working, right? Like over that Labor Day, players had a couple days off there. He didn't have days off. He's in here working during that time. And he's really got upbeat spirits, and he understands, you know, he's going to have a long career. There might be he misses a game at some point in that career. You can still affect that game not playing in it by how you prepare. If you see something and tell another guy as you're studying tape. Like I thought both him and Aziz the last game had such a great spirit on the sideline, and that helps us. Like you come off the sideline after a stop and you got two of your teammates that you know can play really well and you know you respect as players coming over and telling you what a great job you did out there. Well, that means something to a guy like Tamon Fox or O'Shane or Jihad. Like those guys feed off each other, so that positive energy, that what they brought during the game, that helps you win the game, and that's something those guys understand when they're out there, when they're out at practice. Like you can be that positive force, that positive influence, not necessarily by being on the field, but just by being present for those guys. And they did a great job with it. I told them both, you're assistant outside linebacker coach for this game. Whatever you see, let's talk about it on the sideline. And both those guys, they got a future in coaching if they want it. They did a good job.
Are they going to be assistant outside linebacker coaches on Sunday? Or?
I'm gonna let Dave's handle all the injury talk. But it was a nice try.
Wink changing your sneaker game.
What's that?
Making you want to change your sneaker
He
game.
does. He steps it up for everybody there. So, you know, getting off that bus, you better be looking good because he's going to be looking good.
How about Christian McCaffrey? How big of a challenge is that for you guys?
You know, it's you know, it's a big challenge for us. You know, he creates a lot of matchups, not only in the run game and the pass game. And I think it's going to take a group effort from our defense. But our guys are prepared. They understand the challenge, and they'll be up for the challenge.
When you look back at some of the coverage, you know, running back against linebacker in week one, what do you guys need to do better in those matchups?
I think for us, right, I think it starts with, you know, myself making sure they're prepared to handle some of the things that they're going to see. And at the same time, you know what I mean, we just got to execute. And we'll be better from that. Everything's a learning process. And we'll be much better going forward.
What did you see from that? What did you see in that game? In that regard,
for that, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen over a course of a game. You know, for us, you know, we just got to do a much better job from week in and week out, and making sure we handle those matchups.
Did they deploy Hilliard more than you guys expected them to?
I think for us, like you know, in a first game of every first game, there's going to be things that are going to happen over the course of the game that maybe you haven't seen before. But that's no excuse. I mean, for us, we've just got to, you know, be able to execute and do the things we need to do.
On that second touchdown, was that just they had a good play against what you guys were running, like the route combinations? Because it seemed like Tay was in a tough spot to get over there, and obviously was a little bit late.
You know, there's a lot of things that went on with that play. You know what I mean? And it's something that we'll continue to learn from.
What did you think your group did well in that game?
I think for us, I mean, you know, you're going in and you're playing a game against the Titans, and it starts with stopping the run and Derrick Henry. And I thought, as a group, we did a really good job. I thought we were physical. I thought we executed that standpoint of the game plan.
What did you think of Micah?
Micah, I really like the things that he's doing, and he's going to, you know, continue to progress and continue to get more and more game reps as they go on. But I like the stuff that he's doing. I like, as a collective group, our linebacker group, they're really coming together, and I really like what they're doing.
How much things changed him? Because he told me in the summer he was basically backing up Tay, and obviously now he's playing the other position when, you know, Tay's on the field 100% of the snaps. So how much of an adjustment is that for him?
You know, Micah's a smart guy, and all of those guys, they've got to know both positions that we play, because you just never know from week to week how we want to best use their skill set to be able to get the best combination out on the field, and we'll continue to do that each week.
We obviously haven't spoken to you. We obviously haven't spoken to you since, you know, Blake left. Why do you think that didn't work out?
You know what I mean? I don't think it's anything that didn't work out. This is a business, you know what I mean? And there's got to be tough decisions that got to be made. My job is to just, whoever I have in my room is to make sure they're prepared to play.
What kind of whirlwind has it been like for you? Like, you know, 10 days before the season, he was running with your first team, and you kind of had to recalibrate and reshift.
I think our motto is just always, you know, I think our guys just got to be prepared to play. And, you know what I mean? When things like that happen, it's, you know, just get the guys that are ready to play to make sure they're ready to go, and they were.
When you were on the practice field with him that Thursday, talking to him, did you know, talking to him there, that was his last day with the team?
No, I don't. You know, at that point, no. We were just taking it day by day. To me, it was just another day of practice. We usually have some time together, you know, and so.
So you spent time obviously in college and the NFL. personnel-wise, how much different is it in the NFL? Because college, you're probably a lot more involved with recruiting and kind of knowing what's going on. Here, it's like a lot of decisions probably get made upstairs that.
Control what you can control, right? My job is to coach the players I have, and then obviously we trust our organization to do what they have to do.
Back to Dan's question before, how much different are the responsibilities between the Mike and the other inside backer in terms of what you ask of the guys?
It's they both have to play the linebacker position. There's not that much difference. Some of the routes that they're going to see from the interior to a little bit be different as an outside linebacker, or at least playing a little bit more into the boundary and those things. There's some of those nuances. Some of the run fits that you got to face are going to be different. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you kind of co-teach those positions, because you never know. It could be a motion, it could be a shift, and the guy's in a different spot than he is. So they really got to know both.
You had that grouping late in the preseason. I think you did in the third game with 4 inside linebackers on the field. Mm-hmm. What is that like for you to coach? I mean, it's a different package, right?
Well, I know grading the film, it takes a lot longer. There's more guys. There's more guys that grade. I'm always excited when we've got our group is out there on the field and they're supporting each other. For us, it's always about execution. Just the big thing about this defense is you got to be selfless, right? And you just got to be able to take your part of the game plan or whatever your part is and execute that to the best of your ability.
I don't think we've spoken to you since Darian's injury. How big of a role was he on pace to have in this defense?
He was. We really liked where he was at. He's a guy that we're excited about. In the future as he comes off of his injury. He's got a skill set that you can't teach. He's got size and athletic ability, and we're excited about him.
Is he around, able to sit in meetings right now?
Yeah. He's he's around. He's still participating. He's still learning, even though he can't be out there physically on the field.
Did he show you guys more athleticism than maybe you thought he had?
His
was something he said was he was trying to prove.
His was a little bit of a different situation in college. I think he played heavier because of their scheme and some of the things that they were trying to get done there than when we got him here. But we're excited that we have him.